Ladies and gentlemen, there are moments in life, quiet, sacred moments, when the storm outside rages louder than the voice within. But you must learn, yes, train your mind to remain still, calm, and anchored in the one who calms. The pressure will come. It's not a question of if, but when. But when it arrives suddenly, a phone call, a loss, a betrayal, a crowd watching, a decision to make, a heart racing. And in that moment, your peace is tested. But listen closely now. With your spirit wide open, peace is not an emotion. It is not a reaction. It is a present, and it must be cultivated long before the battle begins. You cannot pour oil into your lamp after the cry of midnight. You must be filled now before the pressure. Train your mind to stay calm under pressure by first feeding it truth. Feed it the living word. Feed it with what is eternal. Let it chew not on worry, but on promises. The world will offer you noise. The word offers you peace. You cannot allow your emotions to be the driver of your soul. Oh, how dangerous it is to live at the mercy of your moods. Emotions are wild rivers. They must be channeled, not obeyed, and that comes by daily surrender. Yes, daily, even hourly. There is a stillness that only the Spirit of God gives. It is not manufactured through effort. It is not a technique. It is the fruit of relationship. The closer you walk with Him, the quieter the voices of fear become. You will find that the pressure that once made you tremble now becomes the very place where you meet His presence more. When you feel the heat rise, breathe. Not just with your lungs, but with your spirit. Inhale the truth of who God is. Exhale the fear of who you are not. That is spiritual breathing. And it keeps you alive in the calmness you display in crisis becomes your witness. People will look at you and wonder, why aren't you breaking down? And you will smile, not because you have strength, but because you know where your strength comes from. The world will marvel not at your stability, but at the invisible anchor you cling. And I say this with deep reverence. Calmness is not something you fight for. It is something you yield. The Prince of Peace is not found in your striving. He is found in your surrender. Pressure does not destroy peace. It reveals its foundation. If your peace is rooted in people, it will crumble. If it's rooted in comfort, it will dissolve. But if it's rooted in Him, it will stand. And you will stand. So, I ask you, dear heart, what are you meditating on? What are you feeding your mind? What do you rehearse in your quiet moments? Because what you rehearse in peace is what will rule in pressure. Let this be the day, yes, this very moment, when you begin to train your mind to bow to the Spirit and not to stress. And may your calmness under pressure preach 1,000 sermons without you ever saying a word. The power of a still mind comes from a surrendered spirit. This truth is neither theory nor philosophy. It is the living experience of those who have walked through storms and found peace, not in escape, but in yielding. The calmness that holds a person together when everything around them is breaking apart does not come from the strength of their personality or the sharpness of their intellect. It is born of something far deeper. It is the fruit of surrender, surrender not to the problem, but to the one who reigns above it. A surrendered spirit is not weak. It is not passive. It is not the quiet of defeat, but the silence of trust. When the spirit bows before God, the mind follows in obedience. You see, many try to train their minds through discipline alone. They seek calmness through technique, repetition, positive thinking. And while there may be temporary results, they will not hold when life begins to shake. What you truly believe is revealed when you are under pressure, and only the surrendered spirit, anchored in the divine, will produce the stillness that does not shatter in crisis. You can silence your environment. You can close the door, turn off the noise, isolate yourself from the world. But unless the heart is surrendered, the mind will still be a battlefield. Thoughts will rush in like a flood. What if this happens? What if that fails? How will I survive? But when the spirit is yielded to the presence of God, the mind begins to come into alignment. There is a divine order to the soul, spirit first, then mind, then body. But in today's world, this order is often reversed. The body demands, the mind reacts, and the spirit is ignored. That is why peace seems so elusive. The stillness you long for is not beyond reach. It is not reserved for monks on mountain tops or saints in cloisters. It is for the housewife in her kitchen. It is for the student before an exam. It is for the businessman before a decision. It is for you in this very moment. And it begins with surrender. Surrender is not a dramatic moment in a church service. It is a daily posture. It is saying, Lord, I do not understand what today holds, but I give you my mind. I give you my fears. I trust you with my future. When this becomes the foundation of your thoughts, you will find that your responses to life begin to change. You will not be so easily provoked. The insult that once ignited rage will now land on the soft soil of peace. The pressure that once caused you to tremble will now find you unmoved. Not because you are numb, but because you are rooted. That is what the surrendered spirit produces. A mind that is no longer tossed to and fro by every wave of circumstance, but one that rests in the unchanging nature of God. And do not mistake calmness for apathy. A still mind is not an uncaring mind. It is one that sees clearly, that discerns wisely, that responds with grace. It is a mind that reflects heaven, not reacts like the world. It listens before it speaks. It pauses before it judges. It prays before it panics. And none of this is possible without first surrendering to the one who gives the peace that surpasses understanding. There will always be things beyond your control. People will fail you. Circumstances will shift. Expectations will collapse. And the temptation will always be to try to think your way into calmness. But the mind cannot lead itself to peace. It must be led by the Spirit, and the Spirit must be led by the Lord. When that divine order is restored, you will find yourself walking through the same storms others sink in, and you will not even be wet. You will be calm because He is with you. You will be still because He is sovereign. So if you find yourself troubled, anxious, unsettled, don't fight your mind. Surrender your spirit. For when the spirit bows in trust, the mind will rise in peace. The stillness you seek is not in trying harder, but in trusting deeper. Let your mind come to rest, not in answers, but in the presence of the answer Himself. Pressure is the platform for God's peace to be revealed. It is in the moments when life closes in on every side, when the weight seems unbearable and the way forward is unclear, that the peace of God, true, unwavering, and divine, can shine with its fullest. Pressure does not merely expose our weaknesses. It invites us to discover a strength that is not our own. It becomes a stage upon which heaven's calmness can perform a miracle in the soul of man. The peace that the world offers is fragile. It is based on circumstances, comfort, and control. But the peace of God is forged in fire. It does not wait for the storm to pass. It walks on the waves in the midst of the storm. You see, many fear pressure. They run from it. They avoid it. They pray it away. But what if pressure is not the enemy? What if pressure is the tool God uses to purify your faith and reveal the depth of your trust in Him? Peace is not proven in still waters. Peace is proven when the winds howl, when people disappoint, when resources run dry, and yet somehow you are not moved. There is something profoundly holy about a soul that remains calm when all reason says it should fall apart. And that holiness is not born of human effort. It is the fingerprint of God upon a life that has learned to rest in Him under pressure. Pressure has a way of bringing to the surface whatever is hidden in the heart. It reveals where we have placed our trust. When things go wrong, when we feel out of control, our first response often betrays the true object of our faith. Do we panic? Do we blame? Do we retreat into fear? Or do we fall to our knees, not out of desperation, but in quiet surrender? A surrendered soul under pressure does not make noise. It makes space. Space for God to move. Space for peace to settle. Space for heaven to speak. There is a difference between worldly calm and divine peace. Worldly calm depends on solutions. Divine peace depends on presence. The Word will tell you to manage stress, to distract yourself, to push through. But heaven whispers, be still and know that I am God under pressure. It is not your plan that will keep you. It is His presence. When the pressure rises and the Word shouts for answers, the Spirit calls for trust. And in that holy silence, the peace of God is revealed, not as an idea, not as a theory, but as a living force that steadies your soul. Think of the olive. It is only through pressure that the oil is released. Think of the grape. It is only through the crushing that the sweetness flows. In the same way, the peace of God in your life is not merely felt, when things go right, it is extracted through the pressing, the waiting, the testing. That is why you must not despise the pressure. It is not there to destroy you. It is there to reveal what has been planted within you. And if Christ is within you, then peace is within you. There is a kind of peace that cannot be explained, only experienced. It guards the heart and mind like a fortress. It does not come and go with moods or moments. It abides. And it abides most visibly when pressure tries to break you. You may not feel strong. You may not know what to do. But if you turn your heart to Him, if you look beyond the pressure to the one who holds your life, you will find peace that makes no sense. But it is real and it is enough. So do not run from pressure. Do not pray only for relief. Pray to see what pressure is producing in you. Pray to hear the whisper of God in the whirlwind. Pray to be so anchored in His love that the pressure does not drive you away from Him, but draws you deeper into Him. For it is in the furnace that gold is refined. It is in the storm that faith is matured. And it is under pressure that peace becomes your testimony, not just your desire. Let the pressure come. Let it do its work. And when it has done all it can, may it be said of you, not that you endured with gritted teeth, but that you stood in perfect peace because God was with you and His peace was revealed in you. Discipline your thoughts to respond, not react. This is one of the greatest challenges and highest callings of the spiritual life. The mind is powerful, more powerful than most people realize. It can be a sanctuary of peace or a battlefield of torment. What you allow to dwell in your mind will shape your emotions, your decisions, and ultimately your destiny. When the pressures of life come, and they will, it is not just what happens to you that matters, but how you think about what happens. Your thoughts, more than your circumstances, determine whether you rise or collapse. A mind that reacts is a mind that is untrained, untamed, and undisciplined. It is quick to panic, quick to assume, quick to speak, quick to fear. It jumps to conclusions and fuels the fire of anxiety. A reactive mind is at the mercy of external forces. It is like a leaf blown about by the wind, tossed this way and that, never settled, never rooted. But a responsive mind is different. A responsive mind is disciplined. It pauses, it filters, it listens before it speaks, it waits before it acts, it measures the moment through the lens of truth, not emotion. And that difference between reacting and responding can change everything. You cannot control every thought that enters your mind, but you can control which ones are allowed to stay. Thoughts are like birds flying overhead. You can't stop them from coming, but you don't have to let them build a nest. Discipline means you do not give power to every fear, every doubt, every offense. You take them captive, you examine them, you ask, is this thought rooted in truth? Does it reflect the heart of God? Does it lead me toward peace or pull me into chaos? The undisciplined mind is dangerous because it believes everything it feels. But feelings are not fact. They are not always rooted in reality. They rise and fall with hunger, fatigue, memories, and stress. And when you are under pressure, your emotions will scream for attention. They will demand that you react. They will tell you that you're in danger, that people are against you, that you're not going to make it. And if you listen to them without discernment, you will act out of fear, not faith. Training your mind requires more than willpower. It requires transformation. That transformation begins when you saturate your thoughts with the Word of God. Scripture is not just for Sunday morning. It is your daily bread. It reshapes your patterns of thinking. It renews your mind so that your first response is no longer worry, but worship. No longer panic, but prayer. The more you feed your mind the truth of who God is, the more you begin to respond like someone who truly believes it. A disciplined mind is a quiet mind, not a lifeless or passive mind, but one that has learned the beauty of silence in a world of noise. It is not easily provoked. It does not entertain every insult. It does not feel the need to defend itself. It knows when to speak and when to remain still. This kind of mind is not born overnight. It is the result of repeated surrender, constant awareness, and a heart that longs for God more than it longs to be right. And when life squeezes you, when pressure builds, you will discover whether your mind has been trained or left unchecked. If you have invested in discipline, if you have cultivated stillness, then you will respond with grace, even in the fight. But if you have allowed your thoughts to run wild, if you have not guarded your inner world, then your reactions will reflect the chaos you've tolerated inside. Every day, you are either training your mind or neglecting it. There is no neutral ground. You are shaping your responses with every choice you make. So choose wisely. Invite the Spirit of God to help you. You are not alone in this. He is your teacher, your comforter, your guide. He does not just command peace. He is peace. And as you walk with him, your mind will become more aligned with his. Let this be the goal, not to be perfect, but to be present, not to control everything, but to respond with wisdom, not to react in fear, but to respond in faith. Discipline your thoughts, and you will find that even under pressure, you can remain calm, focused, and steady. Not because life is easy, but because your mind is anchored in truth. Learn the art of spiritual breathing. It is not something taught in classrooms or discovered through academic knowledge, but something grasped in the depths of the soul, where life is fragile and the presence of God becomes the only anchor. Spiritual breathing is not merely a metaphor. It is a living practice, a divine rhythm that brings calm to a troubled heart and clarity to a mind under pressure. Just as the body needs air to survive, your spirit needs connection. Your soul needs peace, and your mind needs the gentle breath of heaven to function with clarity under stress. When the mind is racing and the world seems loud, that is the moment to breathe, not just with your lungs, but with your inner being. Inhale the word of God. Exhale the fear. Inhale the promises. Exhale the anxiety. Inhale the faithfulness of God. Exhale the weight of performance. This rhythm is not a technique. It is a relationship. It is not about manipulating your emotion. It is about yielding to the Spirit of the living God who is closer than your breath, nearer than your own heartbeat. Many people live their lives spiritually suffocating. They breathe in stress all day long and never exhale it in surrender. They absorb negativity, fear, criticism, and failure, but never release it before God. And then they wonder why they feel tight, anxious, and angry. It is because the soul is overloaded and the breath of life has been forgotten. You were not created to carry everything. You were created to commune with God, to depend on Him, and to release what was never yours to hold. Spiritual breathing brings your focus back to the one who is in control. It slows your racing thoughts and reminds your heart who God is. Every breath becomes an act of trust. Every breath becomes a declaration. I am not alone. I am not in charge. I am not without help. This is not passive surrender. It is active intimacy. It is not about escaping the moment. It is about entering it with God. When pressure rises and panic tries to grip you, pause. Breathe. Not just to calm your nerves, but to open your soul to heaven's reality. The atmosphere around you may be charged with stress, but the atmosphere within you can remain still. You can carry peace into chaos, not because you are strong, but because you are breathing from another realm. You are drawing from the Spirit of God, who gives wisdom when you don't know what to do, and comfort when you don't know what to feel. This breath of the Spirit does not come with noise. It comes with stillness. It comes when you slow down enough to listen. Sometimes the answer you're looking for will not be found in striving or searching, but in the quiet moment when you simply breathe and remember, He is with me. That breath may seem small, but in it is the weight of eternity. That breath may seem silent, but in it is the voice of the Almighty, whispering, peace, be still. The enemy of your soul wants you to forget this rhythm. He wants you to stay breathless, panicked, rushing from one thought to the next, one problem to the next, never resting, never listening, never drawing from the well that never runs dry. But you have a choice. You can stop. You can return. You can breathe again. Not just once, but throughout your day, you can practice this sacred rhythm. Inhale truth, exhale burden. Inhale grace, exhale shame. Inhale courage, exhale fear. You will find as you learn this way of living that your responses to pressure begin to change. You will no longer be thrown off by every interruption, every unexpected problem. Your mind will remain calm, not because the pressure is gone, but because you are breathing something deeper than the air around you. You are abiding in the Spirit. You are practicing peace. Let this become your habit. When tension builds, when your chest tightens, when your thoughts spiral, don't just grit your teeth. Breathe. Let your breath become a prayer. Let your breath become a place where heaven meets your humanity. Let it be the moment you step away from the chaos and back into communion. You are not weak for needing to breathe. You are human. And you are spiritual. And God in his mercy has given you a rhythm that restores not just your lungs, but your soul. Learn it, live it. Let spiritual breathing carry you through the pressure with grace and strength that are not your own. Calmness under pressure is a witness to the world. It speaks volumes without uttering a word. In a world that rushes, reacts, and erupts at every inconvenience, the person who remains composed under trial stands out, not because they are immune to difficulty, but because they are anchored in something deeper. The calm soul is not void of emotion, nor blind to danger. It simply knows where to look in the storm. That kind of peace doesn't come from personality or upbringing. It is not inherited. It is developed, cultivated, and rooted in an unseen strength, the strength of abiding in God. When the world is watching, people take note of how you handle pressure. Your calmness in crisis becomes a sermon they can see. You may not have a microphone. You may never stand behind a pulpit, but your reaction in the fire preaches a message. And the message is this: there is a peace that surpasses understanding, and it is available not only in comfort, but in crisis. You preach it when you choose patience instead of panic. You preach it when you answer with grace instead of rage. You preach it when you walk into the same stressful environment as everyone else, yet carry a stillness they cannot explain. People are not drawn to perfection, they are drawn to peace. And peace becomes magnetic when it is displayed under pressure. It shows up in the workplace when everyone else is anxious over deadlines, and one person chooses to lead with steady confidence. It shows up in the home when financial strain is real, but a parent still chooses to speak faith over fear. It shows up in the hospital room, in the courtroom, in the waiting room. Anywhere pressure exists, peace has an opportunity to testify. This kind of peace cannot be faked for long. It cannot be manufactured in the moment. It is not performance, it is presence. The presence of God living within a person becomes their composure. They are not pretending to be calm. They are abiding in the one who never changes. And from that abiding comes a response, not a reaction. A response that reveals trust. A response that brings light into dark places. A response that says, yes, this is hard, but I am not alone. I know who holds me. People may not say anything at first. They may not understand your peace. But deep down, they notice. They sense something different. They may even question themselves. How can she remain so gentle when life is so hard? How can he stay so focused when everything is falling apart? That's your witness. It is the overflow of what lives within you. It is the unshakable foundation you have built in quiet hours, with God now being revealed under pressure. You never know who is watching you. A co-worker, a child, a neighbor, a friend. They may never ask you about your faith, but they will observe your life. And the calmness you display when life is unkind might be the very thing that leads them to ask questions they've never asked. You don't need to convince people of God with your words if your life already displays his peace. Let your calmness under pressure be your testimony. Let your steadiness speak of a higher power, a deeper love, and a greater purpose. And this doesn't mean you never feel overwhelmed. It doesn't mean you don't struggle. You may feel the shaking on the inside, but you choose not to let it dictate your actions. That choice, to pause, to breathe, to trust, is a form of worship. It honors God. It puts his character on display, and it strengthens you from within. The greatest witness is not in how high you jump in joy, but how deeply you root in hardship. The world has seen hype. What it is looking for now is hope. And that hope is most visible in the people who carry calmness when everything screams for chaos. So don't underestimate the power of your stillness. Don't think your quiet strength goes unnoticed. In the middle of pressure, when you choose peace, you are not only helping yourself, you are pointing others to the source of true peace. Your calmness is not a small thing. It is a living, breathing testimony of grace. It is the whisper of heaven in a noisy world. And it is enough to turn hearts toward the one who holds the storm in his hand. Peace is not the absence of trouble. It's the presence of God. This truth is simple in its phrasing, but deep in its power. Many people spend their lives waiting for circumstances to improve before they allow themselves to rest. They say, when things settle down, then I'll be at peace. But life rarely settles down. There is always something pressing, something painful, something unfinished. And if peace only comes when the storm is over, then it will always remain just out of reach. True peace is not a reward for perfect conditions. It is the result of divine presence in the middle of imperfection. When God is near, peace is possible. Not because the situation changes, but because you are no longer walking through it alone. His presence doesn't erase the storm, but it redefines how you walk through it. You stop asking the storm to go away and start asking, Lord, be with me. You begin to realize that peace is not external. It is internal. It is not passive. It is active. It does not mean you feel nothing. It means you feel God more than you feel the fear. There is a stillness that only comes when you know he is with you. When his presence surrounds you, anxiety loses its grip. You may still have questions, but they are no longer the loudest voice. His nearness becomes your refuge, not your circumstances. That's why peace can be present in a hospital room during a financial crisis or in the middle of deep loss. Not because any of those places are comfortable, but because his presence makes them holy. He walks into your brokenness and breathes stillness into your spirit. And suddenly what should have broken you becomes the place where you are most deeply held. The mistake many make is thinking they must wait for things to be fixed before they feel peace. But peace is not a future gift. It's a present reality for those who invite God into the middle of their mess. The world says you need answers, control, and clarity before you can rest. But the Spirit says, just invite me. Just let me be near. His presence does not guarantee an immediate solution, but it guarantees you are not forsaken. And when you know he is near, fear loses its throne. In Scripture, peace was not given to people because life was easy. It was given in caves, in deserts, in prisons, in battlefields. David said, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. That was his source of calm. Not that the valley disappeared, but that the presence of the shepherd was constant. Paul and Silas sang songs in a prison cell, not because their chains were broken yet, but because the presence of God had filled that cell. Peace showed up not after the breakthrough, but before. You will never find lasting peace by running from trouble. You find it by running to God. And the beauty of His presence is that it is not limited by space or circumstance. You don't have to be in a church building to find peace. You can find it in the car, in your bedroom, in a courtroom, or during a sleepless night. Wherever He is welcomed, peace is released. Wherever He is honored, calmness follows. The world needs to see this kind of peace, not the kind that comes from wealth or control, but the kind that shines in the fire. That quiet assurance that says, I don't know how, but I know who. That unexplainable calm that testifies to a power greater than self. It is one of the clearest marks of God's presence in your life. Not just that you smile when all is well, but that you stand firm when everything seems to fall apart. And it's not something you have to strive for. It's something you receive. He is not hiding His peace from you. He is offering it. He is whispering, my peace I give to you, not as the world gives. He does not ask you to earn it. He asks you to trust Him, to believe He is near even when you cannot feel it. The peace of His presence will not always make sense, but it will always be enough. So if you are searching for calm, stop looking for perfect condition. Look instead for the presence of the one who never leaves. He is closer than your breath. He is standing in your storm. And when you recognize that He is with you, peace will rise, not because the trouble disappears, but because He is greater than the trouble. His presence is peace, and where He is, fear must bow. You have heard of the surrender spirit, the kind that quiets the mind and anchors the soul. You have been reminded that pressure is not your enemy, but the holy ground where peace reveals its truest. You have learned that your thoughts do not have to lead you. They can be trained to respond with faith, not react with fear. You have been invited to breathe, not just with your lungs, but with your spirit, to inhale the nearness of God and exhale the burdens of life. You have seen how calmness under pressure becomes a silent sermon, a living testimony that draws others to a higher rate. And finally, you have heard the truth that peace is not a destination at the end of trouble, but the presence who walks with you through it all. Now the choice is yours. You can live like the world, frantic, distracted, easily shaken. Or you can live rooted, calm, and steady, not because you are strong, but because you are surrendered. You can let your mind race, or you can train it to rest. You can let fear dictate your reactions, or you can allow God's voice to shape your responses. This life will bring pressure. That is certain. But pressure is no match for the one who lives within you. And if He is within you, then peace is within you. Then peace is within you. Strength is within you. Calmness is within you. Not because of who you are, but because of who He is. So let your life become the kind of witness that speaks without sound. Let your calmness under pressure reveal the presence of God to a watching world. And when others are panicking, may you be the one who stands still, not because the storm isn't real, but because your God is greater than the storm. Be still, child of God. The storm may rage, but so does his love. And that love will hold you together, mind, heart, and spirit, when everything else falls apart. Peace is not far. It is here. It is him. Let him have your mind. Let him shape your responses. Let him be your calm in the middle of it all. Human.